Hey guys, what is going on? Welcome into the video. So in a couple of my most recent videos, I've talked about the American cannabis sector and how I believe it's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, unrealized opportunity in the stock market right now. So before we get into my portfolio and the trades that I'm making on this sector, let's go over a couple of key points. So first off, going over a couple of key points on my thesis with this sector is the first major coming catalyst is as of right now, these American cannabis companies, they trade in the OTC market over the counter. This means that the majority of large institutions and funds do not have access yet to invest in these companies. These companies have very, very low institutional ownership. So when and if an uplisting happens, there would obviously be a huge inflow of money into the sector because they're now allowed to invest in that. These current stock prices have been driven down heavily by shorts. If that uplisting was to happen, in my opinion, there'd be a very, very good chance for a short squeeze to happen. When that huge inflow of money comes in, I think the sector would get hot in that scenario. And as we know, the cannabis sector has some huge ups and downs, but when it gets hot, it gets hot. We'll get 2018 example. We'll get towards the end of 2020 and the beginning of 2021. These stocks went on huge runs. When the sector gets excited, it gets really excited. And these stocks run in a big way, something that I believe would happen if an uplisting was to take place for these American cannabis companies. Now, the first major catalyst that could lead to this uplisting is the Safe Banking Act. So first off, the amendments for the NDAA Act of 2022 was released this past week and includes the Safe Banking Act. So this Monday, the House is going to meet again on this act. From what I've seen, this is very likely that it passes and goes on to the Senate. And there is a realistic chance that by the end of 2021 or beginning of 2022, this Safe Banking Act could be passed by the Senate, which would then give a good chance for an uplisting to happen. So if this act passes, first off, this would help out these American cannabis companies in a huge way. They can finally get financing from real banks. As of right now, they're borrowing from smaller banks at 10-15% plus interest rates, which is crazy to take on debt because they are growing companies. When this act passes, this is only going to accelerate the growth and would also give a pretty good chance for these companies to be uplisted. So a realistic time frame for this would be anytime late 2021 into early 2022. There's a good chance for the Safe Banking Act to pass. Now, there are also other major catalysts coming in the future, such as federal legalization of medical cannabis. That would obviously be the biggest thing for the sector. As of right now, it does not look like that's going to happen anytime soon, but that is a huge future catalyst to keep an eye on. It would obviously be game changing for the sector in these investments. And also Section 280E tax code. Right now, these companies' bottom lines are heavily affected by this, since they are essentially being taxed on all of their gross profit and other things. They're not allowed for tax write-offs and stuff like that. So for this 280E tax code to be removed would likely be federal legalization of medical cannabis, which once again is not going to happen anytime soon in my opinion. There is always a chance for that, but that is a catalyst to be aware of down the road. And the sector as a whole has massive growth ahead of it, expected for a continuous average growth rate of the sector at 17% per year and projected to reach about $38 billion by 2025. Just continuous growth, huge opportunity in the sector. And why I'm personally most interested in American cannabis by far compared to Canadian cannabis companies is because of the market opportunity and the valuation of these companies currently. On the right side of this slide, it just shows the market opportunity versus the valuation of these companies. And on the left side, you can see the comparison of market cap to revenue. Canadian companies are trading at an average of 10 times sales, while American companies are trading at an average of 2 times sales. An argument for this could be that the Canadian companies are building out in America as well, which is true, but at the same time, these American multi-state operating companies, they are far ahead building out their businesses and licenses in the States than these Canadian companies are, while at the same time, these Canadian companies are trading at much higher multiples, and these American companies are trading at much lower multiples. A big reason for that being that they trade over the counter, while these Canadian companies can be freely invested in by anybody, which is why they trade at such higher multiples, something that I believe would even out when this uplisting happens for these American companies. Their multiples are going to skyrocket compared to where they are at right now, in my opinion. Okay, so now getting into my trades and my portfolio that I'm building around this sector. So my strategy with this is focusing on the major players in the sector. There's a group of 4 to 5 or so tier 1 companies in this sector that are going to end up buying out the smaller companies they believe provide value to their business. A lot of these smaller companies, in my opinion, they're going to go bankrupt. A lot of these companies are losing a lot of money right now. The tier 1 companies, these are going to be the future companies that are cash flowing machines making a ton of money, while there's going to be a lot of struggling in the smaller companies in this sector. So in my opinion, and what I'm doing is focusing on those major companies, speculating on one or two or so of the smaller cap companies that I believe are the strongest businesses in this space. So included in these tier 1 multi-state operators is first up Curaleaf, ticker symbol CURLF. This is the largest company in the space with a market cap of about $8.05 billion. Green Thumb, ticker symbol GTBIF. This is currently a market cap of $6.14 billion. Cresco Labs, ticker symbol CRLBF, has a market cap of $3.65 billion. Trulieve Cannabis, ticker symbol TCNNF, with a market cap of $3.65 billion. And those are the top 4. Another one that can be included in this tier 1 list is Verano Holdings, ticker symbol VRNOF, with a market cap of $3.78 billion as of right now, talking US dollars, not Canadian dollars. There's another company right behind these others that I love the valuation on personally, and that is Ayr Wellness, ticker symbol AYRWF. This one currently has a market cap of $1.67 billion. And my personal favorite small cap in this sector is Marimed, ticker symbol MRMD. And this one currently has a market cap of $343 million. So we'll take a deeper look at some of these companies in just a second. But first off, taking a look at the portfolio that I'm building. And this portfolio is in Charles Schwab. I would recommend anybody who's looking to get into the sector or any OTC stocks in general to use Charles Schwab or Fidelity. Those two brokerages charge 0 fees for OTC trading, while other brokerages such as TD Ameritrade charges $8 every time you buy or sell an OTC stock. So those two brokerages are the best for OTC trading. In my personal opinion, I'm not affiliated with those companies. That's just going to end up saving you a lot of money if you end up buying these stocks. So the current sector portfolio that I'm building, right now I have about $17,000 invested in this specific portfolio. I also have a good amount of positions outside of this portfolio, equaling a little bit over $60,000 in total value. But in this specific portfolio, this can be the YouTube or public portfolio, if you will, and I want to build this out to be $50,000 plus sooner rather than later, so I'll be adding money to this account. But taking a look at my positions, my number 1 position as of right now is Harvest Health, ticker symbol HRVSF. This is an indirect investment on Trulieve, as each one of these Harvest shares is going to turn into 0.117 of a Trulieve share, which would be valuing Harvest Health at $3.08. As of right now, it's trading at $2.98. So essentially investing in Harvest, I'm getting a couple % discount off those Trulieve shares. And Trulieve is my personal highest conviction trade in this space. Their revenues are up 70% year over year, with their most recent earnings having $215 million in revenue in the quarter, with net income at $40.9 million, which based on these earnings, it would come out to a yearly net income of about $163 million, which would come out to a current price to earnings ratio of 22. And based on forward projections, the forward PE would be in the 17 to 18 range. So this is a stock that's essentially trading for value stock multiples while growing hyper growth rates at the same time. I personally believe, just based on this valuation, this is the number 1 in the sector, and personally my number 1 focus as a long-term investment right now. This is a stock that I've been accumulating and looking to add more and more, either on the way up or if it dips, even better. And Trulieve is a stock that a couple years out, I think this is a $100 stock. It's already down to 50% from this year's highs. A big argument against it is that they're mostly based in Florida, and companies more diversified in other locations trade for a higher premium. Their acquisition of Harvest gives them many more locations such as Arizona, Colorado, Maryland, and Nevada. But the argument against them is 90 out of their 145 stores are based in Florida. In my opinion, this discount is a blessing for the stock price, as they're obviously going to expand in more places in the future. They're the number 1 leader in the Florida market, and they're going to stay like that. And yeah, there's a couple of more short-term headwinds affecting the stock price. I talked about that in a previous video. But at the end of the day, this is one of the major players in the sector, trading for the cheapest multiples by far, the one that I believe is the best opportunity and my personal highest conviction trade in the space, which is why Harvest Health is my largest position in this portfolio as of right now. When it's all said and done, I want Harvest / Trulieve to be about 40 to 50% of my holdings in this portfolio. And taking a quick look at the technical setup on this one, from all-time lows to all-time highs, this is now bouncing off this 61.8% retracement, giving this one a decent chance, in my opinion, to have found a bottom and is now on the way back up. Now, the next investment that I have in this portfolio is Curaleaf, ticker symbol CURLF. I have 200 shares and about $2,000 in this stock as of right now. So like I said before, this is the largest company in the space with a market cap of about $8 billion US dollars, current stock price trading at $11.46. There are very few arguments against Curaleaf of being the number 1 long-term player in the space. The company is just super diversified, have over 100% revenue growth year over year, and expected to reach full profitability by the end of 2021. And taking a quick look at the technical setup, it's down about 40% from those recent highs, bouncing off that $11 support as of right now. If it was to break below, the next key support levels to watch is $10 per share and $9.50. So the next position that I have in this portfolio is Cresco Labs, ticker symbol CRLBF. Currently hold 200 shares in this one. Current market cap of $3.65 billion. Stock trades at $8.73. Their main focus as a business is focusing on the wholesale market, which differentiates them from these other cannabis players. Another one with over 100% plus year-over-year growth, positive net income, and expected to have annualized revenue run rate of $1 billion by the end of this year, which means by the end of 2021, they expect to have quarterly revenue over $250 million, which would equal out to $1 billion yearly. This one is down close to 50% from those recent highs, bouncing near that $8 support line, and one that I'm definitely looking to add more to this position on. The next position that I have in this account is 60 shares of Green Thumb, ticker symbol GTBIF. This is personally my lowest conviction one of the big four, just because it does trade at the steepest valuation. Current market cap of $6.14 billion US. Current share price of $26.47. But another one that's a more diversified company location-wise, which gives them that higher valuation with a business model, a lot like Curaleaf, but is one in my opinion that will easily be a long-term winner in the space, so definitely one that I want exposure to. 85% year-over-year revenue growth, equaling $221.9 million in the previous quarter. Positive net income as well of $22.1 million, and one that has held up a lot better than others during this recent dip of the cannabis sector, as it's just down about 30% from those recent highs. Key level of support to watch from here is that 25 support level. If it was to break below, the next levels to watch is 22 and then 20. Those are the support levels that I'm watching for this stock. The next position that I have in this account is 50 shares of Ayr Wellness, ticker symbol AYRWF. Current market cap of $1.6 billion. Current share price of $23.25. This company is valued as one of the cheapest in the sector, and they recognize that as a management team, as they recently announced a 5% share buyback, which is the maximum allowed for these CSE listed companies, and reaffirms their 22 outlook of $800 million in revenue, which would come out to a price of sales of 2.1 for 2022, something that is just way too cheap for a company that just grew 200% year over year. Now, taking a look at the technicals on this chart, it IPO'd about a year ago at the end of 2020. It went on to hit highs of 37.5, now down about 40% from those levels, recently bounced off around that $20 support level, and still just heavily beat down from those highs, something that I believe has a ton of comeback potential when the sector does bounce back with these coming catalysts. This is another position that I'm very interested in adding to at these current levels. Now, the next position that I have in this account is Marimed, ticker symbol MRMD, currently holding 1,000 shares of this in this account, and this is actually a position that I've had since late last year when the stock was trading around 70 cents per share, and that's a sizable position for me outside of this account, but it has a current market cap of $343 million. This is my personal favorite of the small caps in the sector, and one that I believe can explode in the future when the sector does come back into favor. They have 240% revenue growth year over year, already profitable with positive net income, and recently increased guidance for the rest of the year. If you take a look at the stock chart on this one as well, it's also been the best performer in the cannabis sector for the past 6 months, actually being green in that time period, while a ton of others have dropped like 50% plus, like we've seen on those other charts. This just shows how much confidence investors have in this one, even during weakness and uncertainty in the sector. And if you take a look at the all-time chart since going public, you can see that this stock got caught in the 2018 cannabis FOMO, and hey, it's definitely not out of the question if something like this happens again for this stock to see back at those price levels. So the final position that I have in this account is Verano Holdings Corp, ticker symbol VRNOF. Currently hold 50 shares of this. It's currently the smallest position that I have in this account, and the reason for that is that they have a bunch of share lockups on the way, which we'll take a look at in just a second. But as of right now, it's trading for $12.03 with a current market cap of $3.78 billion. This is a newer company to IPO, as it just IPO'd earlier this year, but it is down over 50% from those IPO prices. And this is one that has been grouped with those tier 1 top companies in the multi-state operator space. So this company has 164% year over year growth. The reason that it's discounted more than the others is because there's been a lot of lockup selling. August 10th was 90 days from going public, so 35% of these shares have been unlocked with another 45% to come. If you take a look at that lockup agreement, but they're killing it with earnings, trades at a very, very cheap valuation compared to others. And if we take a look at the technical setup here, it bounced off and found lows at $11, which is that key support level moving forward. 13 and 14 both acting as short-term resistance levels. This is one that could easily see more short-term downside just because of that lockup agreement, and one that I'm being patient on adding too heavy. But this is definitely one that I do want to add more to whenever these lockup dates pass and move on from that. So that's the current portfolio that I have. A bunch of these positions I am looking to add size to. Just wanted to get some starter positions in these names out of the way so I can start averaging in and sizing into these positions. Once again, this is a portfolio that I want to have valued over $50,000 by the end of this year, and sooner rather than later, because personally I believe that there's a good chance that a lot of these stocks just bottomed out with these coming catalysts. These could get hot very, very quickly, so that's just my personal thoughts on that. And outside of this portfolio, I do have a much larger position in Trulieve / Harvest, and also in the MSOS ETF, with also holding 2023 calls on the MSOS ETF, something that just gives me a diversification throughout this sector for what I believe, like I've been saying, is the best opportunity in the stock market right now. Alright, so that's going to wrap the video up. If you are interested in getting alerts every time I buy anything in this portfolio or make any trades outside of this account, buys and sells, getting alerts for everything I do in the market, the link is down below to join the private Discord chat. I answer any questions you have. You have access to see all my short-term and long-term portfolios, and every single night get nightly watch lists. So once again, that's the first link down in the description. Let me know your guys' thoughts down below on the sector, and like and subscribe if you haven't already. I would greatly appreciate that, and that helps me out a ton. And thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you next time. Let's get rich.